Hey guys, it's Dr. Bodle, and if you have Hashimoto's or a thyroid condition, there's likely multiple symptoms that you would like to see improve in the upcoming year. Now, it's okay for us to want things to be different, but for us to actually have success and see change, we need to set goals. Goals have a structure around them, they have a step by step plan. And we want to avoid things like wishes, where we're just hoping for things to be different, but we don't have anything in place to allow us to actually do that. So in this video, I'm going to give you the best goal setting strategies that I provide to my patients and have helped them to have tons of success. That way you can be successful in 2024. And don't forget, if you like learning about natural strategies to improve your Hashimoto's and hypothyroid symptoms, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for new videos every Thursday. And if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, either in person or remotely, stick with me until the end of the video. That way you can get more details on how to make that happen. So the first strategy for goal setting is to define where you're at. It can be hard to achieve any type of goal if we don't know where we're starting from. Now, this is something that I typically do for my patients, but it's something that you can do for yourself as well. And really, it's quite simple. All you want to do is quantify your current health habits and your current health metrics, both from a subjective point of view, essentially how you feel and how you're experiencing your symptoms, and from an objective point of view, where you're collecting as much data as possible. Additionally, make sure you're being extra specific when it comes to different parts of your life that are more intimately related to your goals. For example, if you know that food has a big impact on how you feel and your overall health, then you want to detail everything that you're eating. But if your sleep is generally pretty good, then it might be enough for you to log how many hours you got rather than someone who's really struggling with their sleep, and it can be beneficial for them to detail the exact pattern. This might include things like, I woke up last night at 2 a.m., I was up for 2 hours, I was then able to get back to sleep, but I woke up 3 more times. As you can see, this is a lot different than someone who might have generally good sleep and might just want to write down, last night I got 7.5 hours. If weight is something that you're trying to work on, whether you're trying to lose or gain weight, then I know it can be scary, but you do want to weigh and measure. Now, I don't think that this is something that people need to do all the time, especially if it's stressful for them. But again, lack of knowing where we're at is going to make it very difficult to assess whether or not we're making progress. And over the years, I've had many people come into the clinic and say, yeah, I'm somewhere around this weight. But when we actually check, they could be off by 15 to 20 to 30 pounds. And if the number in your head doesn't match the one on the scale, then it's quite possible that you could be making very significant changes. But when you come back to do your follow-up, because you were too scared to weigh in the first place, we really don't have much ability to assess that change. Finally, when it comes to labs, some people are going to have more of a capacity to get markers done than others, but be as detailed as you can be. Whether that's running a full thyroid panel with antibodies, getting things like inflammatory markers included, looking at your blood sugar, lipid panel, and insulin levels, checking nutrient status like magnesium, iron levels, B vitamins, and potentially checking on sex hormones. I was recently speaking with a patient whose energy, historically speaking, was very clearly tied to her iron levels. However, she was continuing to have problems with low energy, and she told me, it can't be related to my iron because I've been taking supplementation for the past 2 years. Well, I said, have we checked on those levels? Have we seen improvement and changes in the lab markers? And the answer was, her doctor hadn't done any follow-up. So we decided to get that panel checked, and when we got the results back, we saw that there had been very little change. Now, of course, once we saw that, we needed to ask a few more questions and dive into the situation a bit deeper to determine why she was taking iron and it wasn't having any impact. But the point was, because she had gotten those labs done a few years prior, we were able to see how things had changed, or in this case, not changed during that time. By establishing a baseline in the beginning, not only can we identify what we need to work on, but the effectiveness of our strategies. So if we want to set and achieve goals, the first thing we want to do is be a scientist and start collecting data. Our second strategy is something that you hear a lot of in the goal setting world, so it probably isn't new, but you need to make sure that you have a strong purpose or reason why you're making the changes that you want to make. When it comes to improving our health, Especially with chronic conditions and autoimmunity, these are not things that are going to change overnight for you or require a 1 month reset. Our changes and our focus are going to be required for months and years. And during that time period, we are going to have plenty of ups and downs. The thing that I think is most difficult for people with Hashimoto's and autoimmune conditions is because their immune system is unstable, they are more likely to have significant flare ups, which can bring back a lot of their symptoms. This can be really devastating. And whether it's due to something that you did or factors that were outside of your control, the sudden increase in symptoms and the feeling like you're caught in a flare can make us feel like we're back at square one. None of the things that we've done have really mattered to this point, and it's really easy for us to throw everything out the window. Now, I am always quick to remind my patients that although a flare up can feel like we're back at square one, that's not actually the case. All the work that you've put in up until that point is still there, and your ability to recover and get back on track is much different than when you first started out. Even still, it can be hard to hear that when we're not feeling well. And that's why it's so important to have that strong sense of purpose. When times are tough, we want to be able to look towards that greater reason why we're making all these changes and use that to help reinforce us and encourage us. One additional tip that I have here is don't make your reason why a numbers game. And what I mean by that is your why shouldn't be something like, I want to be able to hike a mile, or I want to lose 15 pounds, or even I want to see my blood sugar numbers go from 115 to 100. Those are all great goals, but they don't give us a lot of motivation and purpose. Instead, really dig deep within yourself and ask, why is that number important to me? Maybe you want to be able to hike a mile because hiking is something that you do with your daughter and it's something that you want to continue to be able to do. So, really, your why is less about that mile that you want to hike, and instead, it's the quality time that you're spending with your daughter. When times are tough and you're struggling, it's the connection with your daughter that'll help to motivate you and not necessarily that metric or that distance. Our next goal setting strategy is to be accountable. If you're going to go through all that work to track and define where you're at, then you also want to be honest about your changes and the progress that you're making. A great way to do that is to find someone in your life who you can be accountable to. Let them know what your goals are, what you're changing, and what you need support with. Then feel free to check in with them on a regular basis and let them know how things are going. Obviously, I think it's best if you can find a family member, a partner, or a friend to do this, but this is the same reason why people pay personal trainers at the gym. Yes, sometimes you need additional help and instruction, but a lot of times, the most important part of the trainer is having someone to be accountable to. So if you need to find some professional accountability, that can be an option as well. But if none of those things are available to you, you can always be accountable to yourself. You just need to make sure that you're being careful and you're not fudging things. Sometimes we tell ourselves little fibs to make ourselves feel better, but your body doesn't want justifications. It just wants whatever it needs to heal. So if you do need to be accountable to yourself, then the best way to do that is to journal and write things down. Not only can that allow you to identify patterns in a world that can be very busy and hectic, but the very act of writing something down requires you to face it and recognize it rather than brushing it off. It can be pretty easy to say something like, yeah, I probably got all my steps in today, but if we actually take the time to look at our watch, see what our step counter says, and then put it in our journal where we're comparing it to the past month, now we have a whole new level of accountability. We can see where we've gotten off track, and we can use it as motivation to keep getting better. My next recommendation for setting goals is to reprioritize your schedule. Sometimes I'll have patients come in to see me and say, you know what, Dr. Brad, I am really slammed for time. I don't know how I'm going to find any time to prep food, and I can't possibly fit exercise into my schedule. And while I definitely understand that things can get busy, and we need to find ways that we can fit our new strategies in with your current lifestyle, there's a little bit with this line of thinking that is flawed. Sometimes we think, there's only so many hours in the day, so where am I going to find this other time to add these new habits on top of what I'm already doing? Well, what I would ask you to consider is your current lifestyle approach isn't helping you achieve what you want. So instead of trying to add things to that lifestyle, we want to break everything down, look at what you're investing your time in, and start taking things out that aren't serving you and aren't helping you with your goals. This could be anything from simple and obvious things like maybe someone's watching too much TV. Of course, I'm not against you having ways that you can decompress and relax at the end of the day, but we just want to ask the question, is this serving us in the best way possible? Maybe that TV watching needs to be completely removed. Or maybe we can find a compromise and we can reduce that TV watching by half and use the other time to work on our dinner, read a book, or maybe get to sleep a little bit sooner. For other people, it could be something big, and it could be something that's so ingrained in your life, you never consider the possibility that that's something that you might want to change. It's possible that when you're tracking where you're at, you start to realize that you're working until 8 p.m. every night. Now, again, some people need to do this, and I don't know your specific situation. I'm just asking you to consider and potentially reprioritize all aspects of your life. And if working until 8 p.m. serves your highest goal of maybe moving up in your company or making more money, then do that. And I want you to do the things that align with your internal values. But if this is something that is having a significant impact on your health and your main goal is to improve your health, then ask yourself, is this serving my main goal? And is it something that needs to be changed? And finally, my last goal setting strategy is to dream big, but to break your goals up into small, achievable pieces. There's a famous quote in the ultra running community where a runner was asked, how do you tackle a 100-mile foot race? And they said, I run from tree to tree. The thing is, because running 100 miles is so far and it's such a big goal to tackle with tons of variables that you can't possibly predict, it means that you also can't use that as your primary goal, which does sound a little bit weird. But if we use that as our main goal, it's going to be very hard to achieve it. Therefore, if we set smaller goals, not running 100 miles, but running from tree to tree, those things are much easier for us to wrap our mind around. And once we achieve those mini goals, it allows us to feel some amount of satisfaction and build momentum towards our larger outcome. This is the same principle that we need to keep in mind for Hashimoto's. You might have chronic fatigue, a significant amount of weight to lose, pain levels that are at an all-time high, gut issues that won't go away, and a brain that isn't functioning. And while I do want you to dream big and imagine amazing outcomes for yourself, that's not what our initial goals should look like. Why? Because you're not going to achieve those goals right away. And if our only goal is to lose 100 pounds, it can be really discouraging when we're 6 months in and that goal still seems like a long ways off. Now, you probably know that these things take time, but if we don't frame things appropriately, it can make it more difficult than it needs to be. So in the beginning, set small achievable goals that allows you to build momentum and to build consistency. At the end of every day, ask yourself, did I do things today that helped me to achieve my short-term goals? And are those things serving me and allowing me to build towards those larger outcomes? If yes, feel good about your changes and keep on working. If not, keep tracking, review your data, and reprioritize if necessary. Although you might not recognize huge changes from day to day, this type of an approach allows you to build a sustainable foundation, and eventually, as you start to reflect back on your journey and how things compare from month to month and year to year, that's when you start to see how much transformation you've actually made. But I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to, feel free to share some of your goals for the upcoming year down in the comments. If you have some big goals for yourself, but you need some additional help, and you're interested in working with me one-on-one, either in person or virtually, then remember you can always get that process started by sending an email to contact@seattlethyroidhelp.com. And if you need that address again, it's down in the description box for you. But once we hear from you, my staff will reach out, answer any questions you might have, and see if you qualify for a free consultation. If you do, then they'll help you to find a time where you and I can sit down together, talk about your symptoms, talk about your goals, and see if we're a good fit to work together. The consultations are always no pressure. I just want to make sure that you understand the entire process, that our goals align, and that you're in the right place for you to achieve the most success possible. If you're not ready for a consultation but you want to keep learning, check out some of the other videos on the channel, grab either one of my free downloads listed in the description box, or follow me on Instagram or Facebook for daily information, tips, and strategies. But that's it for this one. Thank you as always for watching, and I want to wish you the absolute best health in the upcoming year and the years to follow. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and reach out if you have any questions. But my name is Dr. Brad Bodle. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one.